Hey guys, yeah, a certain type of different video format. I'm definitely trying to get lighting better. I'm gonna purchase some lights. Hopefully, it's gonna be better because now I just want to kind of talk about how I have left Protestantism and how I have officially joined the Orthodox Church. The reason for this being that essentially Protestantism, you know, it starts off at 1517. It starts off at 1517 and starts off with talking about the Reformation, and then starts off talking about all the reformers, and there's like a giant hole there in church history for them. Is the Bible days, then jump to 1517. And I was sort of influenced by, and you're never going to believe this, atheists. Atheists have, like they say all the time, how do you know your religion is the right one? Did you see all of them? Okay, well, bad news for them, I did. I did look at all the religions, and I about found that Christianity was true. But it sort of stayed with me because what are the odds that the one church I joined because it was willing to give me a ride is the right church? I was baptized as a Baptist, and I eventually went on this sort of journey of self discovery of where I went ahead and figured out what do I believe, why do I believe it, and am I right? Now, truth does not fear proving. If you're scared to maybe go out and try something new, maybe you're not interested in what the truth is. Maybe you're the type of person who just wants to stay where you are. Maybe you're the type of person who doesn't care. Uh, but what struck me is, because you guys know me as an atheist debater. I debate atheists. And I thought atheists were dishonest, dumb, still do. But now I'm beginning to realize that's nothing unique to them. That's nothing unique that only they have. Because we're talking about other Christians now who I have gone to and I've asked about. And it just doesn't seem like they know what they're talking about. And this is something that stuck with me as a Protestant because I'm like, okay, well, there's even churches that are called the same thing, like this Baptist church, that Baptist church, completely different. I'm like, I mean, we're talking about eternity here, eternal salvation. I had always been told growing up that the Catholics were a bunch of weirdos who confessed to a guy and the priest, prayed to Mary, worshipped Mary, and made up some crap called purgatory. Okay, and that's always what you're taught. And by the way, I don't think the Catholics are right, but I do now understand why they believe what they believe. It's not all just a bunch of stuff that some people in Rome decided to wake up one day and pull out the rear end. I now understand it. And another atheist thing that led me, maybe out of Protestantism, was, there was this one atheist meme and it said, do you want to become an atheist? Then read the Bible verses that they don't read in church. Essentially implying that church is hiding something from you and that you should read the Bible and see what they're hiding from you. Now I've read the entire Bible. There's nothing that's going to make you be an atheist as long as you understand it. But there were some things, especially in the New Testament, that I just never heard about. I was always told as a Protestant that the Catholics are a bunch of power-hungry weirdos, and that there was no hierarchy, there were no successors to the apostles, this idea of them transferring power. was complete nonsense, and we're all equals, we're all brothers. It's pretty funny because the dude who would tell me this would be the pastor, which made him above me, not equal to me. So, yeah. Essentially, I stumbled upon Eastern Orthodoxy. And essentially, if you hear me say it, you might be going, wait, what? Huh. I thought you were going to tell me you converted to Catholicism, Trey. And no, I did not convert to Catholicism. I converted to Eastern Orthodoxy. And if there were only two choices, Protestantism or Catholicism, I think I would choose Catholicism. I am officially convinced that Protestantism is not right. It is not right. Now, that's not to hurt anyone's feelings, make them feel bad or insignificant. I'm just saying that I was a historian before I was an apologist, and to figure out that while I've been a Protestant, there is essentially a whole crap ton of church history that I was not taught about, that maybe certain people are quoted, like the church fathers. Like, Protestants don't care about the church fathers. They will quote them when it suits them, then drop them when they want to. Like, I think I heard someone quote St. Augustine once upon a time, but I never knew what St. Augustine really taught. I mean, the dude was essentially the Pope's scribe. You think they told me that in the Baptist church? So essentially, they say, well, these people were wise, but they just got some things wrong. And when you read church history, the councils, what happened and what the early church fathers taught, you see it is nothing like Protestantism. I had someone tell me, hey, Protestants are a lot like Mormons, and at the time I was still Protestant, I thought, oh, well, that was kind of harsh. But think about it, it's kind of true. You have to believe there was a great apostasy. The churches went astray, and true Christianity was lost, and the reformers had to come and reform it back to its glory. You look at the church history, though, there's nothing there like that. There's nothing like what the reformers taught there. Where does this come? It's like the Mormons. There were no Mormons in the way back when, or kind of like Islam. Jesus was a Muslim. What? You gotta throw church history out the window for that. And then they say, also, you gotta believe that the early churches, they really taught what we taught. The things we teach, this is what the early church taught. Not true in the slightest. I'm not sure if anyone knows. Maybe you've looked up the ecumenical councils, but what's a popular one? Protestants say the Catholics worship Mary, and Mary was just a woman like us, and even going off the Bible, that's just not true. How many people in the Bible give birth to God? How many people in the Bible get talked to by an angel, and the angel is hailing them as this holy, amazing person? You usually don't find that in the Bible. I mean, heck, when angels show up, usually people start spazzing out because they're so sinful in the angel's presence. And then you have, all four of the early churches, Orthodox, Catholic, Oriental, and Assyrian, they never believed what the Protestants believed. I mean, if the Reformers were to go talk to some of the early church fathers, the early church fathers would be like, what? Mary's just a human? Once saved, always saved? Going on sola scriptura? What are you talking about? And they'd be completely confused. And to believe that all of that was wrong, the first 1,517 years of church history, it was all wrong. It reeks of Islam and Mormonism. You gotta ignore the history. You gotta just grant that they were humans who could have been wrong. Okay, so we've opened the door for Islam and Mormonism now, right? Well, while you're at it, why not just say the scriptures have been corrupted? Do you really trust those people? Because they say, well, we got early manuscripts. Well, people were so corrupt, apparently, that how do you know they even copied? How do you know they weren't changed? How do you know they weren't changed? That the people who wrote down those early manuscripts, they wrote them down accurately. How do you know that? You know, you can't stop tell me to start believing something, then just ignore everything. You know, I heard about how I learned about apostolic succession. You always talk, those Catholics were those crazy priests, they're confessing. Don't they know only God has the power to forgive sins? But at the same time, it's in the Bible. Jesus gives his disciples the power to bind and loosen sins. It's right there. Did you ever hear that at your Protestant church? Did they ever talk to you and tell you what that means? I have listened to two interpretations of what that verse could mean from a Protestant standpoint. They're both dumb. First one I went to was Got Answers. And by the way, being an apologist, as a Protestant, I liked Got Answers. Now I'm realizing how dumb they really are. I do not like the website Got Answers anymore. They are... You shouldn't. I don't think you should use them. Because I went to the website, I asked them about, what does this mean? I looked it up. The response is so confusing, I don't think I can reword it here for you. It doesn't say what the scripture says. It's like, well, Jesus said that his disciples had the power to bind and loosen sins, but what he really meant was that he was giving them the authority to go out and preach the gospel and teach them how Jesus could bind and loosen those sins. Like, what the what? There's a whole bunch of things that now, looking back with new eyes, it just doesn't make sense. Now I finally see all these other churches, like the Catholic Church. It's not just a bunch of stuff they pulled out of their rear end. They didn't make this crap up on the fly. But you see, it is now been made clear to me that if you want to know why something is, maybe study the history of it. I don't like how Protestants often take the mantle of Reformed theology. Like, the Reformers were completely divided. There was Martin Luther, not the first, but the most successful, because he pulled the ballsiest move of doing what he did with the 95 Theses. And then after that, you had Zwingli and John Calvin. And you just realize that the Reformers were not united. They disagreed on a bunch of crap. Even the stuff they agreed on, sola scriptura. I guarantee you, for a group of people who thought that the Bible was something that every layman should have, it seriously probably blew up in Martin Luther's face as soon as John Calvin hijacked his movement. And Zwingli too, can't forget about Zwingli. Because essentially, I think Martin Luther thought he was going to lead some revolt. However, as soon as he started talking about how everyone could interpret the Bible, all it took was one guy to disagree with him, and now we've got all these denominations of Protestantism. It's like, another thing you were taught as a Protestant probably is that the Catholics are corrupted and evil, and they tried to hide the Bible from everyone. And, well, the Catholic point of view is, well, it's not that we tried to hide the Bible from everyone. It's that we didn't want people to read it and come up with the wrong interpretation. Which, sounds fishy. You tell me what something means and I am not allowed to read it. Sounds fishy. However, take a look at what Christianity has become. I mean, I live in America. Christianity is a freaking joke over here. You got Joel Osteen and everybody who just wants to be a pastor, having the pastor. And then you got the Queen James Bible, which is effectively just the Bible with all the homophobic stuff moved out of it, making it seem as though homosexuality is okay. And you see people butchering the Bible, and even John Calvin. By the way, that's what my next video is going to be on. Calvinism and how messed up it is. And, essentially, it gets so messed up, you're at the point where, you know what? I hate to say it, but I think the Catholics were right. I don't think you idiots should have access to the Bible. I don't. So, and, essentially, I'm speaking about Catholicism so much is because I'm willing to bet if you're in America, you don't know what the hell Eastern Orthodoxy is, and we're going to get to that too. Essentially, it was like world changing. It's like imagine growing up in anarchy. Imagine someone telling you, your parents are telling you, this is the way it's always been. There are just no rules. People are allowed to come up with it. There's a rule book, but it's so vague, no one can really agree on what it means. And everyone, we all just kind of, like the United States without a Supreme Court. Think of that. The Constitution can mean whatever the state thinks it means. It would be a disaster. We'd still have idiots saying abortion was in the Constitution. It would be a disaster. And then later you find out, you go over to an obscure land and they're like, hey, we have your Constitution here, but we actually have a system involved, a system of hierarchy where we do have somebody to interpret it, where we do have somebody, where we don't allow anyone who doesn't agree with it, with the interpretation of the elders, to really have much of a say here. Where not everybody can just interpret the Constitution. That's not to say it's perfect, but it's an improvement. Frickin' spider crawling on me. At the end of the day, I just don't know. It's something world-changing to me. I grew up Baptist. I like being Baptist. They were wonderful, conservative, proud Americans, and I liked that. But then I'm finding out, it's like me telling you, it's like what Muhammad does in Islam. Oh, go read the Bible. Go read the Bible. You'll see that I am in there. It supports me. You go back and you read it, and you come back like, hey, dude, I read the Bible, and it says you're full of crap. Funny story. It says you're full of crap. So now imagine I grow up Protestant, and I'm always told, hey, this is the way it always was. This is the way it should be. There were these power-hungry, evil people called Catholics, and they sort of messed it all up. But, they're the bad guys. But we're the reformers. We fixed everything. And you'll see true Christianity. We reformed and brought back true Christianity. If you don't believe us, go read the Bible. Sola Scriptura. Go read the Bible. And I came back and I'm like, so I read the Bible, and it said you're full of crap. It taught something completely different than what you've been teaching me. Now, I read the entire Bible a long time ago. I can no longer say that because the Eastern Orthodox Bible has more books in it, but I've read the entire Protestant Bible, but it's big. I forgot about some things. And I'm just not convinced. It's, essentially just like in Islam where they have to say, the scriptures were corrupted, or everyone back then was wrong. As a Protestant, you gotta do the same thing. Everyone back then was wrong. It was, and by the way, the Bible, what even is the Bible, by the way? Protestants have a different one. Catholics and Orthodox have their own. So, I don't know. My next video is gonna be about either Calvinism or the five solas. I want it to be about Calvinism because Calvinism is some bull crap that I don't know. We'll save it for that video. Either way, thank you for watching. Sorry to any Protestant fans I had out there. I'm sorry to do this to you, but hey, Listen, the truth, it'll aggravate you, but it will set you free. Orthodoxy forever!